Right, guys, we are back. Believe it or not. You know what? I thought my day couldn't get worse, but the game decided to make it worse. But I believe we have sorted out the grid, and I believe everybody should be on the right tire. But we shall wait just a few seconds. And make sure, obviously, everybody's on the right tire as well for the top 10. You know what? This day, I better get a podium in Division 1 to make up for this shenanigans, because this has been woeful. That's a big word for me, woeful. I don't know what it means, don't ask me what it means, it just sounds right. Right, oh my god, we're jumping straight in. Whoa, I'm not ready for this, right, okay, well, the lights are not out yet. So it looks like the lights are out now, and James does get away well, but as does the other Mercedes behind him. It looks like all the front runners have got away well. It looks like LH44 has not got a very good start at all. I can't see what's going on. It looks like we have an Alfa Romeo that is spinning. I think that might be an LH44 losing it again at the start of the race. He had the same last race, and he has had the same this race. That's not great news for him. It looks like we have another car. It looks like Spanner and Vano have both come together and crash. What a hectic start this has been, and wow, it is a safety car already. Well, this gives me some time to get ready, which is great news. That was a very hectic start indeed. We've already had two drivers come together, and LH44 obviously not too sure what happened to him along the start. I think he did get squished. It looked like it was 3 wide going into turn 2 there. But James currently still leads ahead of Young White Boy, and then we have Jesper. Vag Ardavius has managed to move up into P4 already, so good job from him in the Williams. Apex is in P5. Looks like Spillage has lost a few paces, moved down into P6. Scroll has moved up a few, moved up into P7. Looks like Joe has lost a position, and Blythe has moved up into P9. So we'll stay on board with James as he hobbles his way around for the safety car. What a start that was, right. It looks like LH44 has decided to come into the pits. I imagine he'll be chucking on those hard tyres? Medium tyres. So I do know that the mediums, if you look after them, you could get them to the end of this race. But that would be a very big challenge. I believe they can do around 18 laps, roughly, before they start becoming no good. But you could get them to 30 laps if you really wanted to. So we'll wait for LH44 to catch up to the pack. Hopefully safety car will be in this race, in this lap, as we don't want to be stuck behind the safety car for too long. And guys, today's just not going my way. It's just not going my way. So I'm going to use this opportunity to just get back what I just closed, and hopefully I'll have the corner number back up beside me, so I actually know where people are. There we go. Right, is safety car in this lap, guys? I need someone to tell me now. Oh dear. I don't think it is. It might be. It might be, actually. It looks like it is pulling away from James, is it? No, no. No, it looks like it will be in this lap as James is losing. No, 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 he's back up besides it. I don't know what's going on anymore. Doesn't look like safety car's going to be coming in this lap as Joe. Joe, why'd you have to pit? Now we'll have to wait for you. Did you pit? No, hold on, you're still on softs. Did you spin out under safety car? Did I miss you spinning under safety car? I have missed you spinning out under safety car. I've missed the... that is unfortunate. Looks like he's actually coming to the pits as well. Does he have wing damage? Well, unfortunately, I missed a golden opportunity to see Joe spin in under safety car. Or maybe he hit somebody, or the safety car. No, where was he? He was P9, right? He was P8. Not too sure what happened to him. I'm sure we will find out later on after this race. Either he's going to complain about something, or it's going to be like, I spun out. But nobody's got penalties, so I imagine that nobody hit him. So he must have just spun on his own. So hopefully safety car will be in this lap, but once again we're waiting for Joe to catch up. But it should be in this lap because I believe it only does around 9 laps, I think. I'm hoping. Yes, Pova, this game is a joke at times. It is a huge joke. I wouldn't be surprised if this lobby glitched, and then I have to restart the lobby once again. Well, at least I don't have to do Division 1. That's the positive. So we finally have the safety car coming in this lap, so I will not be boring you for much longer. Maybe the drivers will be boring you. We'll put the blame on somebody else for once. But the two Mercedes still out front on 1 and 2. But obviously James will be backing up the grid now to get a good restart. Obviously we do have Jesper on the medium compound tyres, so this is going to play a huge advantage in Jesper's hand as he just saving more and more life into those tyres. But I think it might play more hands into the soft, so it does look like James has gone, and he has gone very well. It looks like he's got quite the gap to young white boy, but just behind him is Vag, and it looks like he's going to have a good run onto Jesper going into turn 2. Very soon. It looks like there is quite a big gap between the other drivers further down the grid. Some of them just didn't get away as well as they would have wanted. Doesn't look like Vag is going to be able to make a move going into turn 1. I've got rid of the gap, which ain't handy. But will he have the opportunity to do it into turn 4? 4? Yeah, 4. Doesn't look like it, but we'll go a little bit further down the order as we do have the Red Bull making a move on the Mercedes, McLaren as they has gone wide. Blythe moving up another position, so we should see him moving up a few more places as well, as we do know he has got good pace. Unfortunately, due to the qualifying, he was not able to get a good lap in due to the weather, which ain't handy. And we see that Vag really trying to get past Jesper now, and obviously Jesper's hanging on for dear life because being on those medium tyres, you know those soft tyre runners will have the tyre advantage just behind you. It looks like Vag was thinking about making a move going into turn 11 there, but doesn't look to be doing so. But he is now right on the back of Jesper, so will he be able to make a move going into turn 13 and 14? Now, will he have the pace? I imagine he'll be burning through that ERS, but on the other hand, I'm sure Jesper will be doing the exact same. It looks like Jesper does hang on for one more corner. So, will Vag now be able to push and overtake Jesper along this main straight? How close is he? Doesn't look like he's close enough. Looks like he just needs a little bit of a helping hand from the DRS. But as it stands, those aren't the cars we're watching. But it looks like Vag's actually going to go for a move around the outside going into turn 2. Is he going to make the move stick? It looks like yes he is, and Jesper does back out, rightly so. Obviously being on the medium compound tyres, you don't want to be fighting anybody on softs and ruining your own race. That's obviously being on an alternate strategy. He isn't actually your race at the moment, so a wise choice there from Jesper as he doesn't run a little bit wide, and that might leave Apex with an opportunity to get past, but it doesn't look like Apex was able to do so going into turn 11. You can see there in the background Blythe, his teammate, and AlphaTauri closing in slowly, but they have lost quite a lot of ground from the safety car restart. You can see Apex actually losing the back end a tiny little bit there going through turn 7. But now going through turn 10, both cars look very good and very stable for going through there. Obviously it is a very horrible corner for the cars on the rear wing. But no penalties so far, which is good. That's what I like to see. Nobody with penalties. Obviously they are pushing the car to the limits and they want to use as much track as possible because that is where the temps are gained. But so far no penalties, which I'm very pleased about. But now, will Apex be able to get past Jesper? Now obviously Jesper is going to have DRS to Vag just in front, so the DRS might not actually help Apex too much at all, but obviously it will help a little bit. A little bit further back we do have Joe and LH44 actually catching back up to the rest of the drivers. So like Joe's actually going to go around the outside of LH44 going in. No he's not. He decides to back out of that one. I think that's his choice. Obviously you don't want to do it in dangerous corners as it might end up putting you both in the wall, so wise choice sometimes to back out of a battle that you don't want to end up in the wall, as it is a long race. And it looks like they both do manage to get past Curly there. I believe that was going into turn 7. But we'll move back up and watch Apex now going through turn 10. Just on the back of that Aston Martin. I imagine he'll have a good shot at getting past Jesper on the main straight coming. So, will Apex in the Red Bull now be able to get past that Aston Martin driver of Jesper with DRS? Now, I believe Jesper has just missed out to DRS in the car in front, so I imagine Apex will be able to get past rather easily before the corner has even been made. And you can see that DRS closing, and Apex has got the move done, but he does pick up a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits, so he's the first one to pick up a penalty out of the drivers. Now, a little bit further back, we do have Joe actually managing to get past LH44, so I imagine these two keep swapping and changing positions as they both have got very similar pace, and obviously they're at the back of the pack and have to ideally work together to get back up in front. But we will now hop on board with Jesper. We'll stay on board with Jesper as he will be looking to try and make the move back on Apex possibly, as he's within 6 tenths still, and obviously over time those soft tyres will start degrading, and those medium tyres will start playing the advantage more. It looks like Bano has already DNF. Does look like Paige has come into the pits as well in the Haas car. Looks like her race has not gone the way she would have wanted so far. It looks like she is actually quite far back to the rest of the pack, so she'll obviously need a safety car to catch back up. But now Jesper looks to just be inside the DRS range, so he will have DRS for this straight. No, he won't. He will not have DRS this straight. Alright, if that's so, we will now hop on board with the Mercedes driver of James and the Mercedes driver of Young White Boy, as these two are now going to be battling it out for first place. And Young White Boy has actually done a very good job of staying on the back of his teammate. Obviously his teammate did qualify 7 tenths quicker than him in the race. Now you can say that might be due to weather, but we do know James is a very quick driver as it is, so we will see this battle unfold, as we haven't seen Young White Boy get too close throughout, but we shall see. And actually, as I speak, LH44 is looking to make a move on Joe. Doesn't look like he has got enough track to do so though. Just looking to try and get back past that Aston Martin, and both Aston Martins currently under pressure from another driver. Oh, sorry, no. One is looking to defend, one is looking to attack, and looks like the Mercedes driver has dropped off a little bit out of range of his teammate, but I imagine he'll be able to get just back in time of the 1 second within the DRS. Now, will he have DRS on his teammate, as this could be crucial for him, because if he does another lap without DRS, he might not be able to keep that 1 second gap, and he does not have DRS, so maybe he won't be able to keep that gap closed. But it does look as if he'll be going through a lot of DRSs. The gap has now gone down. Now, will Jesper be able to make a move on Apex? He's going to decide to go around the outside going into turn 4, and it's like he has got the move done once again, and moves back up into P4. Now he's going to be looking at Vag just in front, wanting to get past him as quickly as possible. So we'll stay on board with this battle, as we don't know if Apex will be able to manage to get past. I imagine those soft tyres will start dying out very soon, and we'll start seeing pit stops coming into play as well, which could be interesting to see who decides to come into the pits first. Maybe Vag will look to pit first and try and do the undercut. I do not know the actual strategy though. I don't know how good the undercut would be on this, but Vag right now 1.5 seconds away from Young White Boy. He is running very well indeed for his debut in Division 2. You can see Blythe again a little bit out of shape there in the Red Bull, just losing the rear end a tiny little bit out of turn 12, but no problems at all. Don't look to have lost much time. But we will see now if he has got enough speed behind that Red Bull to be able to get past Jesper once again with the help of DRS. But will he be close enough? I do not think he will be able to be close enough. Those soft tyres are not as good as they were the first time round he managed to pass. And it looks like Jesper has got nothing to worry about there. Didn't even get within 2 tenths. So looks like Jesper is currently sitting comfortable in P4, I would say. But we'll now hop on board with the two Mercedes as these two. Still 1 and 2 as it stands, and a little bit further back we do have Joe LH44 trying to get past the Ferrari of Creason. Now the gap has increased quite a lot at the field gap, and I imagine these two drivers will not be happy about that at all, as they'll be wanting to try and score a lot of points this race, but maybe a safety car later on in the race will play into their hands and do them a favour. But you can see, I thought that was the Mercedes out there in P1 currently, but it's the Haas just going around turn 15 now. So through turn 10 there, you can see Joe losing the back end quite a lot, and that might compromise him to LH44. Just like LH44 isn't going to be able to get past there. Right now, we'll hop back on board with the Red Bull of Jesper as they are coming up to the DRS straight. Vag is the first one to come into the pits. Maybe he is going for the undercut on the two Mercedes drivers. But will Apex be able to get past Jesper this time? It looks like he might be alongside going into the corner. It doesn't look like it. You can hear him lift a tiny little bit there to make sure that he doesn't end up in the gravel with Jesper, and just stick to where you are. You're in P3 and 4. That's a pretty good position as it stands. Obviously you do have to worry about Vag currently, as he is now pitted to go onto medium tyres, I would imagine, and he'll be very quick on those mediums compared to the old softs, so he'll be looking to make a lot of ground on the rest of the drivers. Now Joe has managed to get past Creason in the Ferrari. Now LH44 will be looking to do the same. So that Alfa Romeo driver just got to pick his moment to get past the Ferrari driver. But we'll also keep our eyes on if the two Mercedes decide to come into pit or not. As right now, I imagine they're losing sometimes to the Williams driver of Vag, who has just put on fresh softs. So do the Mercedes come into pit? Obviously they can't pit at the same time. Do one of them come into pit? No, neither do. So Vag might actually be on the undercut here, as we'll have a look at the times the Mercedes have set. We cannot see that unfortunately, but we'll have a look. You see there, Vag actually setting fast sector 2, so he is currently flying. So I imagine once the two Mercedes pit, he will come out in front. Obviously he will have a little bit older tyres, but he will have the positions, and not only one position, he will have two positions. So this could get very interesting indeed nearing the end of the race, and the two Mercedes actually getting very close indeed. But LH44 still behind Joe, them two working together almost to get through the pack, using each other as DRS, little helping hand for one another. But the nice thing for Vag is actually he came out in clean air. He has got 5 seconds to the next car in front. Well, he did have 5 seconds to the car in front, and because of that he has been able to put his foot down and get going. Now, do the Mercedes pit this lap? They got to pit soon, surely. Those softs can't last much longer, and you can see as well some of the drivers have already decided to come into the pits. So I'll actually get up their tyres for you guys so you can see who has pitted and who has not. You can see Apex also decided to come into pit now, so he'll be making up some ground, and Spillage as well on the hard compound tyres. He has decided to come into pit and will be making up not as much ground, but he'll be making up some ground, and James does decide to come into the pits. Now the good thing for James is he could get the undercut done on Young White Boy, because he was in front, and obviously being teammates you don't want to pit at the same time. It did look like Young White Boy wanted to come into the pits then, but James actually managed to sneak into the pits, and he's decided to go for the hard compound tyres. Now I don't know if that's the correct choice, because I know the mediums should be able to make it 20 laps. Now we'll see where James comes out compared to Vag. As we can see now, Vag is coming down the main straight. Will he be in front of James? And it looks like Vag is in front of James, so the undercut has worked, and he knows now he is currently sat in P1 once the car's in front pit. So you can see the gap is actually 1 second between him and James, and obviously James being on the hard compound tyres means Vag can actually push and get out of his DRS. So Vag is sat in a very nice position now, and you can see the time he is gaining on the car in front of Creason. He's now 1.5 seconds behind Creason. He was 4 seconds a lap ago, so he is catching rapidly to the car in front, and obviously gaining a lot of time on the other drivers who are yet to pit. So we will see if young white boy now comes into the pits. He doesn't. He decides to stay out. So maybe he's going for the longer run and trying to have the attack at the end of this race with the fresher tyres. Does Jesper decide to pit? I wouldn't imagine so. He is on the medium tyres. He's looking to go long. Will Scroll come in and pit in the McLaren, as he has lost quite a lot of time to the other cars in front. But it looks like he isn't going to pit either. So he's like maybe going for a longer strategy on the softs to try and have fresh tyres near the end of this race. So that's going to be very interesting indeed. Now Vag is going to get past Creason rather easily here, being on the fresher tyres. Creason doesn't even want to fight it, as he will lose too much time. So that's now Vag moved up in the P6, and it has currently 2.3 seconds to him and James, and obviously a car between them, so he is sitting in a very nice position indeed. So good job to him so far in the Williams. He is absolutely flying and got the strategy bang on so far. I mean, a safety car could change things. So do we have any drivers coming in the pit soon? I mean, we're not even at the pit yet. It does look like Paige has been lapped as well. She is down in P13. So we'll send board with young white boy and see if he pits or not, as I imagine he would have lost a good 3, 4, 5 seconds to his teammate and to Vag. So we'll see where he comes out along with the other drivers. I imagine Vag's going to have no problem at all getting past the other Mercedes driver. As Jesper currently takes the lead of this race. Now obviously Jesper is one to also bear in mind, being on a medium soft strategy, I imagine. So we'll see what he can do in that Aston Martin. He has a lot more pace against everybody else nearing the end of the race. Now where will Vag come out compared to the Mercedes driver? He's going to absolutely cruise past. Not a problem at all. It looks like young white boy actually is fairly close to him. So young white boy there is actually 1 second to Vag, and James actually pitted before him. So maybe James was holding up young white boy in that sense, as James was in front. So we'll see what happens throughout the rest of this race now, because young white boy will have DRS on Vag, or maybe young white boy was just saving up his ERS to burn it all on the 2 in laps that he wanted to do to try and get ahead and stop the undercut possibility from the other drivers. But Vag does have the position currently, and it's like Scroll, the McLaren has actually found the wall in turn 10, which is not ideal at all. Being on 14 lap old tyres, he has lost it going through turn 10 and will have lost a lot of positions. He was currently sat in P2 on the soft compound tyres. That is a lot of points there lost for the McLaren. But we'll stay on board with Vag and young white boy, as now young white boy will look to try and get past Vag. Now even if he does get past Vag, I'm sure there's not going to be a problem keeping James behind, being on the hard compound tyres. Now I imagine Vag still made the undercut work very well. Now is young white boy going to be able to get past Vag going into turn 2? They're going to be side by side, but it looks like he is going to have the upper hand, and young white boy is going to get the move done. So that's him now moved up into P4 as it stands. After everybody else pits, it will be P1. I imagine we'll start seeing pit stops from the medium compound tyres runners around lap 20. Young white boy does set fast sector 1 as well, showing his pace around here. Now Vag's going to probably try and stay on the back of him to try and have DRS to get back past him, and to also pull away from his teammate of James in the Mercedes. A little bit further back we do have the Alpine, the AlphaTauri and the Red Bull all battling for that 9th position. Obviously Curly yet to pit yet on the medium compound tyres, so he's going to be at disadvantage, and Spillage might be able to get past him before turn 7 here. It doesn't look like it though, so Spillage still behind, currently sat in P11, probably not where he wants to be on those hard tyres, stuck behind somebody who is on 15 lap old mediums. A little bit further up. Oh, I've missed. Oh no, I haven't missed it. Sorry, no problem. we nearly missed it. Right, will Vag be able to get past? I guess he just has to clear Joe here, as they get very close indeed. And Vag actually doesn't go for the move, so he would have lost a lot of time there to young white boy, and you can see he's lost around 1.4 seconds. So he really needed to clear Joe there. But obviously Joe did not give him much space at all, almost pushing him onto the grass, but I'm not sure. I'll have to watch that one back. I don't want to make any comments just yet, but it looks like Spillage and Creason have now got past. Spillage and Blyther has now got past Creason and Curdy, both going into the pits. That's then moved up now into P8 and 9. Both Red Bulls currently running P7 and 8. The Mercedes are currently running P3 and P4. The Aston Martin's currently running 1st and 4th, but still yet to pit. Both cars are on alternate strategies to the rest of the grid. So Vag actually setting fast set 2. I don't know if that's telling the truth or not, but it is, and we're going to have a nice battle going down the main straight between these two once again, as they're going to be swapping and changing positions. Obviously James behind them, currently 2 seconds behind, but we have to bear in mind Vag does not have any penalties so far, so that will play into the hands for him. Oh no, sorry, it's going to be him getting past Joe. Incredibly sorry. I thought it was Young Whiteboy just in front of him. Now will Vag be able to get past Joe? I imagine it should be rather easy, and he has done so rather nicely before turn 2, and now Vag moved up into P4. So what do I commentate on now? I don't know, because nobody's close to each other, so we're going to have a nice chat about when these medium compound tyre runners are going to come into the pitch. You can see that the Mercedes of James actually running very wide, probably picking up another exceeding track limit penalty just there. So we'll keep our eyes on Vag and see if he can close the gap to Young White Boy. Obviously being on 4 lap older tyres, he will be at a slight disadvantage every lap, but he does look to be closing to Young White Boy indeed. It's now from 2 seconds down to a 1.7. So we'll see if he can close that gap over time. Now obviously Young White Boy is going to come into some traffic here, and it's actually LH44, the championship leader, which is the last person you ideally want to be behind in these races, as even though he is on 13 lap older tyres, I'm sure he's still going to be a little bit of a pain to get by. Just for picking up a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. We only have 4 drivers now without penalties so far as it stands. But Vag looks like he's now down to 2.1 seconds, so he has lost a little bit of time to Young White Boy in the Mercedes. A little bit further back we do have James trying to get past Joe. Now obviously the gap for James and Vag has increased to 3.5 seconds. Just being behind Joe is slowing down James significantly, but I'm sure James is not going to have a problem getting past the Aston Martin driver, as he does look to be struggling a little bit on those soft compound tyres. And he looks to try and make the move before the DRS straight. Now is he going to do so? Yes he is, around the outside of turn 15. Now is Joe going to come back at him? No, he is not. So, sorry, turn 14, so out of turn 15. Now who has got the DRS does not matter, because Joe is coming into the pits. It's like Joe also did have the DRS. But now Young White Boy is stuck behind LH44, so this could be ideal for Vag now to try and get back into the DRS of Young White Boy in the Mercedes. Gap is currently at 3 seconds, and the gap is currently at 4.3 seconds for Vag and James. A little bit further back we do have Spillage trying to get by Blyther, now going around the outside into turn 2. Is he going to make the move? Yes he is. The AlphaTauri driver moves up into P7 on those hard compound tyres. We do have a yellow sector 2. Who is that? I think it might be the Haas driver or Paige. Looks like she has gone off through turn 10. Looks like she has lost the rear end through the horrible corner that a lot of drivers don't like, and unfortunately she has been lapped by quite a few cars now. Young White Boy actually getting held up a little bit by LH44. The gap has come down to 2.8 seconds now. Now, did Vag get DRS from Paige? No, he didn't. I thought he might have, going through the DRS activation zone, but it doesn't look like he has now. Will Young White Boy go for the move? No, he does not. quite a wise choice. I wouldn't have tried to send it down the inside just there, especially on LH44. That would be throwing a spanner in the works, really. But he's still within DRS, so I'm sure it's not going to be long until the move is made. But Vag seems to be falling behind it a little bit. But as I say that, James doesn't seem to be catching Vag significantly. Only 11 laps to go in this race. That's actually gone by fairly quick. We're on lap 21 already. Joe has moved up into P8. I believe that is just from somebody pitting. Oh no, it's Creaser. Oh, Blythe has come into the pits and he's stuck. He had a penalty to serve. I see. Now, we should start seeing these medium compound tyre runners that started on it pit soon. So this is going to be very interesting indeed. And where they come out is also going to be interesting, as I'm not too sure how long the pit is, but Jesper might come out in around P4. Jesper should come out in P4. We will see where he comes out, as we've now got LH44 going by. Actually, LH44 comes into the pit, so Young White Boy now takes the lead of this race back up into P1, and Vag will take P2 back. Now James should get out in front before Jesper, and he does so. Now will Apex comes into pit, so now Jesper and LH44 will be in P4 and 5 with quite a gap to P7 for them, so they're going to be all out attack now throughout the rest of this race. Now you can see the gap, 3.6 seconds between Young White Boy and Vag, and 4 seconds between Vag and James. Now currently Williams is stuck in the Mercedes sandwich, but sitting in P2 is a very solid position as it stands. He was sat in P3, done the undercut, and now moved up into P2, so the undercut was paid off for him. He does have to remember James has got a 3-second time penalty, which is going to come into play at the end of the race, even if James does get past him. Vag has just got to stay within 3 seconds as long as he doesn't get a 3-second time penalty as well. A lot of swapping and changing going on down here. I believe it's just somebody pitting and Scroll getting past. Now I believe nobody else is left to pit, so don't know what happened to Spillage. He has lost quite a few places. I believe he started in P6. But Creason has moved up a few places indeed. He started in P11, now running in P7. But behind him you can see Apex hunting him down on fresh softs against those hards. I'm sure give it a few laps and Apex will be just behind him, looking to try and make that move. Now the gap doesn't seem to be decreasing between James and Vag. Being on those hard compound tyres is not doing James any help at all. They're around 6/10 slower a lap than mediums at their prime. So maybe later on in the race we'll see a difference, but he's only got 9 laps, so he's going to have to close half a second a lap, and he's got a 3-second time penalty. So he's going to have to close around 7/10 a lap and 8/10 a lap, and I cannot see that happening. So as long as Vag stays where he is and stays within track limits, he should be putting his Williams in P2 here for his debut in Division 2. A little bit further back we do have Blythe now trying to get past the Alpine. Will he be able to make the move before? Oh, looks like they're getting very close indeed, pushing each other onto the grass there, not giving each other much room. Very hard fighting. But Blythe now moves up into P11, and Curly has found the gravel. Looks like he's still got a wing, so not too sure why. And you can see there the Mercedes, I believe that is Young White Boy coming across now to start lap 24. It looks like Curly might have actually picked up a little bit of wing damage through there. Obviously, as long as they're still running, the top 14 gets points, so even though Paige is quite far behind, she should still be picking up 2 points as long as she does not crash. Now Jesper's actually moved up. What's happened here? Vax decided to go into the soft compound tires. He's gone for a soft, medium, soft strategy. Now, has he just thrown away P2 here? As we do have another, that's Curly in the pits. Now, Vag is going to have to catch around 20 seconds within 8 laps to the cars in front. Now, it's going to be interesting to see, because he's got to close 8 seconds to LH44, 8 seconds to Jesper, and then 3 seconds to James, and just be in his penalty window. So he has got to close a lot of time to the rest of the drivers. So was that the right choice? Were those mediums going off, maybe they wouldn't have made it to the end of this race. But currently as it stands, James has now moved up into P2. We'll have a look at everybody's penalties and see what... Oh, Spillage, you got 11 seconds. What's going on? It looks like Spilly with 11 seconds, so he'll be dropping down the order. Apex with 9 seconds actually, so he might be dropping down the order, but Skrull is actually 10 seconds behind him, so Apex has not got too much to worry about. But if he does get past Reason, he will have to pull 6 seconds. We'll hop back on board with the tyres that the drivers are using, and we'll actually have a quick look at the gap to the leader. So if Whiteboy was to pit again, he will come out in P4, but with the 9-lap hold mediums, there's no need to. Yeah, so this has really changed a lot. Vag is actually going to have to catch 21 seconds now within 7 laps. I don't know where I got 9 laps from. I can't count properly, apparently. So that is a yellow sector 2 actually. Who is that? It looks like the hatch driver of Page has found the gravel once again. Through turn 10 as well, I believe. Yep, through turn 10 again. So the car really not liking that corner. So the race is not going her way at all. Now Vag doesn't seem to improve in too much on LH44. Obviously LH44 does have soft tires on it as well. So now Vag is stuck behind 2 almost brand new soft tire runners as well as being behind him. So I think he's really, maybe he should have just tried sticking it out on the mediums, but not to dwell on it. He's still in P5. If we have a look at where he started, I believe he started in, where do I find it? Yeah, so he started in P7, so he's still made up ground nevertheless, but he might have just thrown away a podium here. But we shall see. Anything can happen throughout the rest of this race. All it takes is for one safety car. He does set fastest lap, so he will get the point for that. But a safety car will mean that he might actually still get the podium, as James and Jasper both have penalties. Now there was a yellow sector 1 and 2. Not sure who that was. I believe it might have been Page again in the Haas. Really living up to the Haas's name. Spillage getting another 3-second time penalty. That means he's now on 15 seconds. He's going for a record on how many penalties he can get in one race. So it does look like the gap has not closed by anything really to LH44. We do know LH44 has got a lot of pace in that Alfa Romeo, but I think Vag might have made the wrong choice bit, and he might have been better off trying to stick it out on the mediums, but obviously we do not know how old those medium tyres were. Maybe they just were gone. Maybe it just wasn't possible, and he could have ended up throwing away all his points. So maybe he's played the safe game and decided to come into pit and guarantee himself at least P5, rather than risking it trying to get P2. And as I speak, Jesper is actually closing in on James. So we'll say on board with Jesper is he's got 5 laps to close 3 seconds. Obviously having a penalty as it stands, it doesn't really matter too much about the penalties between them two. But the gap is now down to 2.6 seconds, so maybe Jesper will be able to get past and get back up into P2. Starting on those medium compound tyres might have done him a huge favour. So the gap now down to 2.3 seconds, so maybe Jesper will be able to move up into P2 if he keeps attacking the way he is. James is going to have a huge job to do going in to the final laps of this race. Being on the hard compound tyres is going to play a massive part for him. So gap now down to 2 seconds, so within 2 laps he's closed at least a second. So I believe he will be able to attack James going into these final laps. So we're gonna have a battle for P2, ladies and gentlemen. And as you can see, that actually Jesper losing his back end through turn 10. He would have lost a few attempts through there, but he's still within 2 seconds of James, so I'm sure we will still get this battle. So the gap is still at 1.9 seconds between him and James, but now Jesper is going to have to worry about LH44 behind him, who is now in Jesper's penalty window. So even if Jesper does manage to get past James, he is going to have to pull a little bit more time, or he might just lose the position anyway. So Jesper's actually fighting for P2 here, or P4. I don't think he's going to be staying P3. Anyway, he will stay P3 if he gets past James and LH44 gets past both of them. But at the rate LH44 is going, we might see LH44 in P2. So you can see there, Jesper gaining quite a bit of time on James, now down to 1.5 seconds. If he can gain a second within, well, 6 tenths within this lap and next lap, he will have 1 lap with DRS, and that might just be all he needs to get past James. So we'll keep our eyes on this battle. The gap is now down to 1.2 seconds, so Jesper is on an absolute charge, and you can see LH44 behind him trying to catch as much as he can, because he could be on for P2 here, and Jesper, as long as he can get past James, he'll be sticking in this P3 position. You can see there the penalties 2 on 3 seconds. So the gap now down to 1.2 seconds. So if Jesper can get into the DRS window this lap, he will have a good go at him on the final lap. So this is now going down to the final lap of this race. The battle for P2 and for P3, and James could be missing out for a podium here. So he is nearly in DRS to James now, and you can see there he is now in DRS. So will Jesper on the final lap get past James? Will this push James down into P4 on the final lap? He's currently sitting in P3 after penalties due to LH44 being right there behind the 2 cars. Now, as they go through the DRS activation zone, Jesper will have DRS to James. Now, with 1 lap to go, what will happen as Jesper is currently chasing down James along the main straight. Now he will still have DRS along the back 2 straights later on in this lap. Sorry, one DRS zone. Oh, it only has 1 DRS zone, does it? Oh my god, I thought it had 3. I'm thinking of Saudi Arabia. Oh no. That's from watching qualifying today, I do apologise. But Jesper is now on the back of James. Now will he be able to make the move without DRS? Now this is going to be the hard part, but He's got it in the car. He's got the pace. He's right behind James. He's burning through the ERS. He's going to go for a move at turn 10. James is going to push him onto the grass there. And, I mean, that's going to be talked about after the race for sure. LH44 sitting back, not wanting to get involved. He knows he's currently got P2 as it stands due to penalties. But Jesper actually being pushed off the track there. And I'm sure that will be talked about after this race, and I don't know if James will be keeping his P3 position at the end here, but we'll now go on board with young white boy. We want to stay on board with Jesper, as these three cars are going to cross the line all within 1 second of each other. But young white boy comes across the line to win the Imola Grand Prix round 5 of Division 2. Now, is Jesper going to be able to get past along the line? No, he's not. It's going to be a few attempts within them two. So your standings are young white boy, LH44 takes P2, James will take P3 for now, but I'm sure there'll be something to talk about at the incident going into turn 10. Jesper will take P4, Vag will take P5, a pretty good position for pretty good position for him. I'm sure he would be a little bit gutted though. Maybe he could have kept P2 if he stayed out on those tyres, but he possibly could have been at risk of running out of tyre life. Joe will come across the line to take P6. Apex will come across the line to take P7? I believe so. I didn't see his penalties. Yeah, so Apex will take P7. Crees in the fry will take P8. That's a good result for him. The McLaren driver will take P9, sorry, after a spin earlier on in the race. I'm sure he'll be guided up about that. Blythe will take P10. Spillage will come home with 17 seconds of penalties. That's probably a new record for the league to take P11, and Curly will take P12 with Page rounding off to take P13. Obviously the two drivers that DNF'd on lap 1 will not be getting any points as they didn't finish the race. That's unfortunate for them. But that is the race, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.